Hi, I'm James McGuire, and today we're taking a look at something I find really interesting, and that is the artificial intelligence market. We're looking at key trends driving AI, and we're spotlighting 4 vendors that are growing the AI market. On our panel today are Raj Koneru, Chief Executive Officer at Core.ai. Raj, very good to have you with us today.
No, thank you, James. Excited to be here.
Stephanie McReynolds is Head of Marketing at Ambient. Stephanie, hello to you and happy Friday.
Hello, thanks so much for inviting me today.
Henry Ehrenberg is co-founder and head of engineering at Snorkel.ai, or actually just Snorkel AI, I think that's the name of the company. Henry, hello to you.
Hey, how's it going? That is exactly right. Super excited to be here.
Good. I'm happy at least when I get the name of the company right. That makes me feel kind of good. And rounding out our panel is Andrew Glutt, Sales Director at Newton. Hello to you, Andrew.
Hey, everyone. Super excited to be here.
So I'd like to get a brief summary from the 4 of you. What does your company do? I think that'll help us understand, what's going on in the market today. Stephanie, why don't you start us off? What is the elevator pitch for Ambient?
Well, Ambient AI is a computer vision intelligence company. So what we focus on is transforming enterprise physical security operations to prevent security incidents before they happen. If you look at security teams today, they're often overwhelmed by streaming video footage from video surveillance cameras. And they face this impossible task of trying to monitor those cameras, detect what's going on, and dispatch resources proactively during any type of security threat. So our platform leverages AI and computer vision algorithms to detect threat signatures and then automate the human response. For some time in the market, there have been some AI solutions like motion detection and image recognition, but they've been pretty noisy. And so alerts from those systems haven't been very accurate enough to automate response. And our first of its kind platform goes beyond those basic video analytics to analyze the context of a scene, including the physical interactions between humans and objects. And this is really cool because with this approach, we're able to achieve near human perception of physical security threats. So our current customers with Ambient AI are doing things like reducing their investigation time by 98% after the fact, but also seeing a reduction in the number of false alarms that they have to deal with by about 83% in most cases. And then most importantly, they're increasing human response times 10x, which is a significant improvement and where most of the AI comes to bear. So we're helping enable some of the largest enterprises to keep their people and assets safe. And we're doing that with state-of-the-art computer vision intelligence technology.
Great. Sounds really neat. Raj, what would you say if you had to give the elevator pitch and there was a venture capitalist running off to his Maserati and you could hardly even speak to him, but you wanted to shout the pitch? I mean, how would you describe Core.ai?
We focus on optimizing experiences. So using conversational AI. So we try to optimize and automate a consumer experience or a customer experience, an employee experience, partner experience, supplier experience. So an enterprise has lots and lots of interactions every day. And these are unstructured interactions, on various topics. And using conversational AI, we provide the platform and the solutions to be able to automate those experiences, optimize them to be more efficient, and reduce the number of things that the enterprise needs to do, which are low value tasks, if you will, basically. So that's basically what we do. And we typically deploy 75% of what we do. We deploy customer facing on digital channels and voice channels. And we deploy that at very large scale, like hundreds of millions of calls or tens of millions of chats in different channels. We also automate employee experiences. And as applications become conversational, that's why we come in and we provide the technologies to make that happen.
Andrew, you're next. Please tell us what your company does.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, everyone. My name is Andrew. I'm the Sales Director and Partnership Director here at Newton AI. Our goal and mission has really been to help almost anyone create AI models or predictive models with just a few clicks and without the need for coding or Python skills or some of these advanced data science skill sets that you might see in the market. Additionally, with that, one of the unique things that we found is all of the AI models that we are building are extremely small and compact in nature, up to 1,000 times smaller that we've seen with other frameworks. And what this has done has allowed us to be able to embed these AI models into edge devices. So as you can imagine, all of the different devices that we're consuming in the market, whether it be our cell phones, wearables, or even in the enterprise space, more and more of these devices are becoming intelligent. So it's really our goal to help bring AI to the edge and do it in a very efficient way as well.
Yeah, clearly, I mean, edge computing is really growing. It feels like the year 2022 is the year for edge. Henry, how does Snorkel.ai move AI forward?
So here at Snorkel, our mission is to empower anyone to solve their most impactful problems through what we call data-centric AI. I'll probably keep coming back to that phrase, data-centric AI, which really just means giving people access to the interfaces, the workflows to iterate and improve, not just their models, but that other really key ingredient when it comes to making AI work, which is the data, right? You go out and talk to any data science, machine learning team out there. They know that one of the biggest blockers or potentially biggest difference makers when it comes to shipping AI is the data, right? And we've been working on key enabling technologies for this idea of data-centric AI for years. First at Stanford, now at the company, and most notably that's been around programmatic data labeling, right? So letting teams use their own domain knowledge to label training data super efficiently, really securely, and adaptively at scale. So all that coming to life in Snorkel Flow. It's our ML development platform, which data scientists and ML engineers use to work on some of their most impactful problems across document intelligence, structured data, conversational data, you name it. We give people access to what's kind of an IDE experience for creating training data sets, for automated model training, training data management, guided error analysis, and a whole lot more. So we've seen data science teams at some of the world's largest companies reduce labeling costs by 10 to 100x, get AI shipped in days instead of months. But we're really just getting started. I'm always super excited to learn from other talented folks in the field, like all the people that we have here. So super excited for the conversation today.
Great, and there was one acronym that went by there really fast. IDE, just for clarity, what does that say?
Great question. I'm too deep in the code some days. So it means an integrated development environment. What a kind of coder would use to work with all the programs and things that they're trying to write. There's been a lot of focus in the field for years and years now on making that development experience really seamless. We're trying to build the same thing to help people build the best data sets that they can for AI development.
Good. Okay. I learned something there. So I'd like to take a look at the trends that you see in the AI market, that companies should really know about. And obviously there's a lot going on out there. I think there's an enormous amount of money being spent in AI. I think sometimes the buyers are a little skeptical, like, does this really work for us? But Andrew, what do you see? What's a key trend driving AI these days?
Yeah, one of the things that we kind of briefly touched upon was edge computing or bringing artificial intelligence to the edge. And one of the interesting things that we've seen is that the MCU or sensor markets are projected to be about 114 billion in 2025 compared to 27 billion in 2015. And the compound annual growth rate for that is about 15%. And if you compare that with software development, is around 9%. So there's a huge growth within the sensors and MCU market. And so more and more effort is being put into how can we make these devices more intelligent? How can we do it faster? And how can we bring value back to our consumers, our customers, and the enterprise?
Henry, what do you see? What's a key trend that is really driving artificial intelligence these days?
Yeah, probably no surprise based on what I just said, but we've seen kind of years and years of technology focus on ML modeling tools, right? So, hey, how do I train the models? How do I get access to the latest and greatest? But what I think we're seeing a lot more recently is general industry and technology focus on data, right? So products across the market for data versioning, data quality, feature stores, whole bunch of other things out there, right? So some of that will be right for data science teams. Some might be more than teams need, but the point is that people are focusing on, what we generally call kind of productization of data, right? Making data a real asset for your company, for your teams, whatever it might be, rather than something that could cause problems or end up blocking you, right? So I think kind of that next phase that we're going to start seeing is really focusing on getting subject matter expertise directly in the loop, right? Again, we're going to keep seeing development of modeling frameworks, zero-shot learning, all this other kind of cool tech out there, getting more and more commoditized, more and more accessible, right? And people are going to be able to tackle a lot of their low-hanging fruit business problems out there, right? Find really good solutions for them. And so, what we've been seeing, kind of working with the customers that we have out there, a lot of people are seeing the highest ROI, return on investment, for data science and ML teams being tackling kind of their more nuanced, more complex problems, right? Custom models and objectives that meet the needs of their business, and of course, built over their own data, right? But that's tricky, right? A lot of the data out there is extremely unstructured. It's uncategorized, unlabeled, right? And people need to put together a lot of pieces and really find a good way to collaborate with subject matter experts in order to end up tackling those problems effectively. Very few people have really figured out a solution that they're happy with when it comes to having data science teams and subject matter experts within their organization collaborate on these kind of big, ambitious problems. And I expect, not just Snorkel Flow, but other solutions out there kind of working towards that future state of collaboration, right? Really letting people know what good looks like for these ML problems. The subject matter experts have a really clear, efficient way to collaborate with the data science teams that are building those automated systems.
Yeah, no question that data drives AI. I mean, it's, data is AI in many ways. It's you can't do anything with artificial intelligence without massive reams of data. Raj, your sense, what's a key trend driving artificial intelligence forward?
I think the biggest trend driving it forward is automation, basically. So when you think about automation, like Stephanie talked about earlier, in physical security, in our space, it's conversational AI-based automation. So automating a conversation between a customer and the enterprise, or the employee and the enterprise. So when you look at AI broadly, its applicability is broadening, quite a lot. I mean, there's computer vision, there's edge-based AI, data is obviously a key element, but the space that has seen the biggest immediate investment, is in conversational AI. So you're seeing most of the global 2000 companies now deploying chatbots and voice bots to automate those conversations. The low-hanging fruit is FAQs. There's a lot of money being spent today just to answer customers' questions. So in addition to that, there's complex dialogues that can be automated today with conversational AI. So NLP, natural language processing, has been the most advanced area of AI. There's still a lot more work being done on it by people like OpenAI and other open source frameworks and networks that are being deployed regularly. But its applicability in automating conversations is now universal. Everybody is doing it. Basically, the market for this is growing very rapidly. Gartner estimates this market is growing at 75% a year, which is like tremendous growth rate when you compare to any software category on the planet. So it's expected to be a $40 billion market by 2025. And therefore you see enterprises jumping on the bandwagon. I mean, it's a conversational AI first strategy now when they think about applications, when they think about experiences that they want to deploy. And it's being deployed in pretty much every function. I mean, I'm even surprised every day with the use cases that come out of the woodwork. Like, we have this large customer in Germany, industrial customer, who has deployed it for procurement. And, making the conversation between the person requesting to buy something, the procurement function, and the buyer and the supplier completely automated using conversational AI.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that that's going to continue, and other areas of AI are picking up speed. So overall, there's a lot of excitement about how AI can be applicable to different use cases, but conversational AI is probably far ahead of the pack in terms of actual dollars being spent on it.
Interesting. Yeah, makes perfect sense. I didn't realize the market was going to get quite that big. 40 billion. That's pretty impressive. Stephanie, your sense, what's a trend driving artificial intelligence these days?
Yeah, this is a great overview of some of the innovation in the AI market. We've now talked about automation, data, edge computing. We see all of those trends in our business as well. One of the other trends that we're seeing really pick up steam in the last couple of years is the industry's focus on personal privacy. The industry started at a really rapid pace. We were focused on innovation and algorithms. And now many companies are adapting how they build those algorithms and their solutions to address concerns around privacy and bias in decision-making. And this is particularly important in physical security because we're processing images of consumers. So we might see this a little bit more than some of the other companies in the industry. From the very beginning of Ambient AI, we were founded as a privacy by design company. So we do not and will not use techniques like facial recognition, which invade individual privacy. We believe, and I think we're proving with our solution, that there's a way to actually maximize the utility of AI without compromising on individual privacy. Mm-hmm. And with computer vision intelligence, with this focus that we have on looking for context and behaviors rather than analyzing identity, race, or gender, it allows us to make sure that our systems are protecting personal privacy and removing bias, while also being able to very effectively identify potential security threats in an environment. Technically, this means that the algorithms that we're running, they analyze the metadata of a scene, and that metadata is stripped of any personally identifiable information. So rather than analyzing the raw data and maybe having the algorithms train or get feedback that could be biased, we're taking that personally identifiable information out of the loop of AI decision-making. So this is important, particularly to physical security, but I think if you step back and you look at what else is happening in the industry, there's a lot of healthy conversations about responsible AI, a lot of investment into how do we architect to prevent bias and to protect personal security. And so broadly, the industry is focusing our attention on creating systems that respond and address these concerns. And I'm excited that that is, the future of AI, that we're taking that into consideration going forward.
I think it's a really fascinating point. I'm sure that in the years ahead, the idea of privacy will be, versus AI. People will see it that way. That's going to be a very hot debate. So I'm glad that Ambient is dealing with that issue. It's forward-looking in that sense. Let's look at buyers and companies. I think a lot of companies, they want to buy AI solutions, but they're confused. It's really hard to shop. To a certain extent, it's a little bit mysterious for companies. So what advice would you give to a buyer who wants to look at an AI solution out there? Henry, how can a company shop?
Yeah, I think it's a really great question. The first thing I'd say is find someone who knows what they're talking about, right? I think there's a lot of hype out there in the field right now, right? Backed by a lot of amazing technology innovations. But you should be really looking for someone who has a proven track record of leading in the field. And again, not just from the kind of technology perspective, but really delivering value, right? And I think that one of those kind of key routes to find someone that knows what they're talking about is finding someone who's focused on helping you deliver value and not just kind of building the fanciest tools, right? I think what Raj brought up before around, hey, look, focusing on some of the most highest value use cases out there, right? Understanding where industries are looking to leverage AI, but things are falling short, right? And finding a solution, a vendor, a partner, whoever that might be, who really understands that is super important, right? So, not every data science and ML team out there is going to need the fanciest stuff, but they all need to be delivering value, having impact for their business, right? So if you hear someone just talking about fancy features, fancy tech, without really trying to understand the impact that you as a data science or ML team is looking to have, I'd just kind of generally say to think twice, right? Find a solution, a partner that understands that, someone that will partner with you to understand and deliver the unique value that your team's looking to have.
Raj, what if a company said to you, we're looking for we're shopping for AI solutions. We don't really know how to do a comparison A/B between vendors. What advice would you give them?
Very simple. I mean, go talk to the analysts. I
Hmm.
mean, the analysts are there for a reason, right? I mean, go talk to Gartner, Forrester, IDC, and they've done the research between the different vendors in a particular space, and they've written reports, and pick the top 4 or 5, and go get the information about who they've done the work for and what's the differentiator between one solution versus another, and the outcomes that they were able to deliver for their customers. At the end of the day, people are looking for an outcome. In our case, it's cost reduction, it's customer satisfaction improvement, things like that. These are hard numbers that the vendors can give you. It's not voodoo, magic, if you will. AI is, accountable. You can figure out if a project was a success or a failure pretty easily. So there are, in any new area of technology, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of companies that jump in. Gartner told us there were 2,000 companies about 18 months ago.
Wow.
Now they say there are 80 companies in our space, and 20 of them made it to the Gartner Magic Quadrant, basically. So there's always going to be a lot of confusion, and I would direct a large enterprise to go, talk to analysts like Gartner and figure it out.
Interesting. Stephanie, what would you say to some befuddled company? We don't know how to shop for AI. What advice would you give them?
Well, James, I definitely agree that it's not just befuddled companies, right? There is some confusion in the market around what AI powered means. And unfortunately, marketers like myself may create some of that confusion as vendors. AI has become a broad label that's used to position everything from recommendation engines to autonomous robots. And those two things are not exactly the same, right? So within that broad context, AI means a lot of different things. So I agree with the statements the other panelists have made that buyers shouldn't be swayed to buy a solution just because it's AI enabled. But I fundamentally also believe that you don't need to have a computer science degree or a deep understanding of algorithms to evaluate these technologies. So, I think Raj mentioned focusing on business outcomes. And what I see our customers who may consider decisions doing is comparing the business value impact of a more traditional solution versus an AI-enabled solution, and looking at the actual metrics of what would be the alternative to an AI solution. When you run that head-to-head comparison, you typically see that the AI-powered solution is delivering a 10x or more of an increase in outcomes over the non-AI solutions. And this is just simply due to the fact that when a problem is well known, computers can pattern match much more accurately and effectively than humans. So that test focused on the business outcome you're trying to achieve helps you evaluate, the AI solution and what outcome can it actually create in your business. So, you're actually aligning your technology selection from the very beginning with solving a problem, seeing a solution. And then I don't think that you need to dig into all of the technical details. Although, we always recommend that companies that are evaluating AI solutions also understand the architecture and look for security and privacy concerns and really make sure that platform or that solution, security and privacy have been considered first-class concerns in how the solution is architected.
Andrew, we've heard a number of different answers on how companies should shop for an AI solution. What would you give? What advice would you give?
Yeah, for sure. I think there was quite a few, useful things that were brought up from, the business value that we can bring. Finding out kind of what are the use cases that you're actually trying to solve. What are the, use cases that you're going to be able to bring into the enterprise that are going to bring value back to, your customers or your company, right? So understanding what it is that you're trying to go after. And then evaluating, what potential solutions are going to fit those business requirements. So, there's going to be, lots of companies that are handling different problems, whether it's computer vision or, it's, using structured data or unstructured data. So, evaluating, what the business requirements are, what you're trying to achieve, either from a cost perspective or from an experience perspective, and then, evaluating, kind of based on some of those criteria as well.
Interesting. Well, I mean, I think when it comes to artificial intelligence, we're always looking to the future because big things are going to happen, or at least we're told that. Stephanie, what do you see if you look for a milestone or two in the future, maybe a couple of years out, maybe in a few years out? What do you see for the future of artificial intelligence?
So at Ambient, we're really focused on a subset of AI around computer vision, and computer vision intelligence is a brand new category that's being pioneered right now. So there's a lot of room to expand its application in a variety of different areas. If you look at computer vision and the recent advancements, we've seen very promising potential with innovation in self-driving cars, industrial robotics, physical security, of course, and even the metaverse, which a lot of folks are talking about these days. So, I believe that computer vision technology as a subset of AI is gradually beginning to bring our digital and physical worlds closer together, which is very exciting moment in time. This is changing how our customers in the physical security space are thinking about their physical security programs. So it's not just about putting guards at a front entrance to secure the building. They're thinking about their physical security as actually an extension of their cybersecurity programs, bringing this digital world together with the physical world. And if you think about the amount of investment most enterprises have done in their cybersecurity programs, they've really firmed up a lot of risk vectors. So that physical security may at this point be kind of the unattended risk vector that they have to firm up. Kind of the last mile of that cybersecurity strategy. And this is a big change in thinking for physical security organizations. It's bringing different parts of the company closer together. It's changing the type of security executive that's leading many organizations. And we find this very exciting because it is really changing and promoting a lot of innovation in the physical security space. We've been waiting for a very long time for innovation in physical security, and this feels like a breakout moment. And the computer vision technology is really enabling that. So we expect to see large enterprises adopting AI, adopting computer vision in this particular sector of the market, and starting to see more outcome-based strategies and outcome-based impacts through the adoption of this new technology.
Interesting. Okay. And Stephanie, you did use the word metaverse. You get 5,000 extra bonus points for that. I don't think
found a way to work it in.
That was impressive because we could not have had this conversation without using the M word. I'm glad you used it.
That's right. That's right.
Henry, Stephanie used the word metaverse. Can you top that when you look at the future of artificial intelligence? What do you see coming?
Yeah, singular. No, I'll try to stay away from
there you go.
Singularity, Turing test kind of stuff. But
Sure.
I think in that same direction, right? We're going to keep seeing more and more commoditization of modeling and ML ops tools out there through the awesome research and products people are working on. Raj mentioned OpenAI, right? Giving people access to some of the latest and greatest absolute state of the art when it comes to giant language models and all these cool things, which can really transform the work that people are doing out there. So when it comes to, hey, looking at what's being commoditized, things like modeling tools, ML ops, other things out there, right? What are those kind of other things that you really need to pay attention to? Again, for us, coming back to the data, that other really key ingredient in building successful AI systems, right? A lot of folks are realizing that is going to become their main differentiator, right? So for us, looking to the future, we're working towards, a place where, again, subject matter experts, someone who maybe isn't super technical, definitely doesn't have a PhD in machine learning, but someone who really understands the needs and nuances of their domain very, very, very closely, right? Someone who knows what good looks like for an automated system can get an ML project off the ground by themselves by really just kind of relying on their domain knowledge, right? So this takes, again, that amazing commoditization, rising tide of ML modeling technologies, automation tools out there, right? But also having the right interfaces for them to take that domain knowledge and build that into an automated solution, right? To start, that's not going to be kind of the most complex modeling types, the like absolute kind of state-of-the-art types of things out there, right? And there's a lot of work that needs to go into tools. You know, Stephanie brought up privacy, bias, things like that, right? Having the right tools to evaluate the performance of ML models holistically. So you're taking those really essential components into account as well, not just kind of accuracy and those raw numbers you're looking for, right? So it's going to take a lot of work bringing all those pieces together to let less technical folks who really understand their business clearly, you know, build those ML models and systems themselves, right? But we really do believe that there's a large class of AI use cases out there, and we can enable subject matter experts to deliver solutions on their own, really be in the driver's seat, you know, collaborating with ML and data science teams out there as well. So super exciting stuff, putting expertise kind of closer into the loop, more into the driver's seat. And that's kind of our viewpoint here.
Interesting. I almost hear the phrase low code machine learning in there somewhere, but I think it's probably
it's definitely somewhere in there, right?
Yeah.
And it's another trend that kind of Andrew had brought up earlier as well.
Andrew, your take, and I think it's really a multi-billion-dollar question. I mean, what is the future of AI as you see it? What are a couple of milestones?
Yeah, for sure. So, you know, as you can imagine, AI is becoming more and more popular. As Henry mentioned, it's becoming commoditized. There's lots of, you know, tools out there that can enable people with artificial intelligence. There's, you know, lots of different use cases that go across all of the different business functions that kind of Raj brought up from a procurement perspective. You know, how can we, you know, automate that procurement process? You look at human resources, at, you know, all of the manual work that has to be done at looking at, you know, resumes, determining who we're going to interview, all the way from the life cycle of the employee to employee retention. You look at, you know, finance, doing predictive models. So, you know, there's a lot of different business functions and use cases within artificial intelligence, and there really just is not enough supply of data scientists and talent in the market. And it's also very expensive. So when we look at, you know, how can we enable ourselves with artificial intelligence, you know, as Henry mentioned, hey, you know, how can we take a subject matter expert and use their knowledge to, you know, empower them with artificial intelligence and ultimately get value back. So over the next 5 years, we're going to continue to, you know, see better and better algorithms, new models, new ways of thinking. And so much of that is going to become more and more automated to where, you know, potentially everyone will be, you know, working, you know, with AI in some sort or another, or be interacting with it. Even from, you know, edge perspective, you know, you look at how many people have been enabled with mobile devices, and what are the different ways that we can leverage the mobile device to, you know, help track, you know, what type of activities we're doing, you know, if we've been injured or, you know, we're in harm's way, different things like that. So it's just going to continue to become more and more automated, and also much more self-service.
Interesting. Raj, you're so close to the market. I mean, I'd love to get your review. What is the future of artificial intelligence as you see it?
Well, and from our prism, I believe that ultimately there won't be a UI. That's a bold prediction.
Wait, there won't be what? I'm sorry. I repeat that, please.
There will not be a user interface anymore.
Okay, no more UI. Okay, that is a pretty bold prediction.
Yeah. So I believe that people are going to talk to their applications. They're not going to actually have to log in, navigate, you know, fill out a form, you know, go through 5 screens to get to something, essentially. So we believe that no UI is the best UI, and that thing that's going to become pervasive as new applications, a new generation of existing applications come out. In addition to that, I mean, when you think about the metaverse and whatever shape or form it takes, call it omniverse, call it metaverse, I think when physical locations are become virtual, you're going to have robots in those virtual locations that you go and talk to. So think about, you're going to a bank's branch. You don't need to go to the branch anymore. You go into the omniverse and, you know, go into that virtual branch, talk to that virtual teller, and talk to that virtual banker or loan officer. And in that world, that world will be enabled primarily using conversational AI, essentially. So the applications that are there today, which are being used for customer service automation, IT support automation, is just the beginning. Tomorrow you will, I believe, ultimately CRM applications, ERP applications will become conversational. And any application that anybody develops will want to start building that application with a conversational AI first approach, essentially. So if applications become conversational, then applications are only going to have two things: a data store with some logic on it that runs on it, and a conversational interface in front. And I truly believe that's going to happen at some point. I mean, we started with the green terminals from IBM to the Windows, applications, to the browser-based applications, to mobile applications. And I think the next interface is a conversational application.
Well, that's interesting. That's super, super interesting. The four of you, Stephanie, Henry, Andrew, and Raj, I very much appreciate your thoughts. There's some compelling, interesting stuff, fascinating. Thanks so much for sharing expertise today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, James. This is great.
Thank you, James.
Thanks, James. Thanks, everyone else as well.
All right. Thank you.